Okay, we're picking up exactly where we left off on the motion tween part 1, and we're still in our library here. We can tell that a couple reasons. One, I see my green ball a little icon right there. The other is that this area is completely white, and that means we're sort of inside our sketchbook or our library, sort of creating or having created this green ball graphic. Okay, now very important sort of destination or route we have to take is we have to go back to our scene. So you'll see here I'm green ball. I'm going to click on my scene 1, and we see that we're back here. Okay, this is our stage. This is where stuff happens. This is where our main timeline is. You won't see that green ball anywhere over here now because we're not inside that library. We see our green ball over here inside the library. Okay, now what we need to do is grab the graphic over in our library and put it on the stage on the bottom left. That's step 2 here on the part 2 creating the tween. So I'm going to click, hold, and I'm going to grab my green ball and I'm going to place it on the bottom left. Now, a couple things have happened. One is that we've taken basically a copy, and I mentioned this in the sort of Flash Basics in the first video. We've basically taken a copy of the green ball and we've put it onto the stage. It's not the only green ball. You'll see actually that I can sort of grab as many as I want. I don't necessarily need that one. And they could sort of be doing different things, and later we'll work on sort of playing with them and doing different things to each of the green balls. Okay. Now, the next thing to notice is up on our timeline here. Okay, up in our timeline, and this is on the very first frame of the layer 1, you'll notice that you have a black dot now. Okay, that black dot is called a keyframe. Now, a keyframe is a very, very important concept to understand as it relates to animation. And a keyframe basically denotes that at this point in time, meaning the frame 1, the first frame of our movie, that the ball is going to be here. In order for there to be animation, we basically have to have, in the sort of simplest sense, we have to have 2 places. We have to have a place from which something starts, and that's the first keyframe. And we have to have another area or another spot, potentially a keyframe, and I'll talk about that in a second, where we are stating that at this point in the timeline it is here. Okay, the keyframe is very, very important, both in Flash but also in sort of the history of animation. If you think about sort of the way in which old animations and cartoons were made, often the keyframe was the very, very nicely drawn picture of something like Mickey Mouse when he was sort of standing still. Then there was lots of things in between, and you'll sort of see where I'm headed with that in between, that were sort of the drawn motion parts of, say, something like Mickey Mouse. So they would go from one stance to another. Okay. The very, very important artists at Disney and places like that drew those keyframes. Those were the important ones. Okay. Now, we're going to make a simple motion tween. You'll see me saying tween, tween all the time. Tween means in between. Okay, we're going to have all these in between frames that represent our motion. Okay, so we've moved, we've put the graphic on the bottom left. Now we're going to move up to frame 60. Here we are at step 3, and we're going to click on frame 60. Okay, now we're going to choose Insert up here, and we're going to choose Timeline, and we're going to choose Frame. Okay. Now, all this does, when we just inserted a frame, we didn't insert a keyframe or anything like that, all this does is extend our movie. I'm going to show you that up until that point, our movie really only was that one frame. You'll see this grayed out area means that we can grab our playhead, and I'm introducing another idea here, our playhead, and we can move it up to frame 60. Then our movie stops. You see how I can't really go much further than that? I don't have any frames to go anywhere to go. Okay, so I can move up to frame 60. But at this point, our movie really isn't doing much. Okay, our sort of 60 frames are basically the green ball sort of standing still. That's going to change here in it. Step 5, choose any frame between 1 and 60. So I'm going to just choose any frame. I'm just going to click on any frame in between. And I'm going to go to Insert Motion Tween. Okay, the only thing that has changed is a visual thing. And that basically is that it went from this, and I'm going to undo it, where it goes from this gray to a blue. Okay, that blue, and that can change, you can change your preferences on that, will indicate that these frames are part of a motion tween. Okay, you'll get used to the sort of differences in these things. It's a visual indication that lets you know what you have going on a layer at any given time. That becomes important when you have multiple layers. You might have 10, 12, 15 layers, and it's nice to be able to sort of look at something very, very quickly and sort of understand what that thing is. Okay, now I'm going to go up to frame 60, and I'm going to click on it, and I have it selected, and you'll see that it's sort of this beige brown color. I have that 60 selected. And then I'm going to go with my selection tool down to my actual green ball. And with that, I'm going to move it up. And by moving it up, I'm going to click, hold, and move it up to the top right of the stage. Okay? Now, when I let go, we will see two very distinct things happen. One is that we get basically a visual indication of this tween happening. Okay, it's going from there to there. Okay, the other thing, and we'll sort of scoot the playhead aside here, is that we get this little diamond shape in frame 60. Okay, that's called a properties frame or a tween frame, and this is basically stating, just like the keyframe, that at this given point right there, we have something defined. We have it defined that the green ball is up at the top right at that moment. Okay. Later we're going to move ahead and we're going to put tweens in other spots. But for now we simply have it moving from frame 1 to frame 60 over a given period of time. One thing that I haven't mentioned, and we'll get into this later when we set up our documents, is what these frames represent. Generally speaking, a flash file is going to default to a certain frames per second. It's usually 12 frames per second. And we'll get into how this relates to speed and how quick your movie works. Okay, it's going to become very important when you're trying to deal with something like timing and having a car go across the screen or a person go across the scene. If you do this over too many frames, it's going to be incredibly slow. If you do it over a very short amount of frames, it's going to be incredibly fast. So I'll talk about that as we move through the semester. Okay, but let's sort of rejoice in the fact that we've created a simple tween. So I can grab my playhead, move it across, and see that I have been successful in creating this tween. Now, if you've had success, we have to do some simple sort of housekeeping, meaning sort of save things. And then test things. And I'm going to show you this probably in the first couple videos. Later, as the semester moves on, even maybe next week, this might not be necessarily something I show you because it's pretty simple saves, but this first time, let's go through it. So I'm going to go File, Save As. Okay, I'm on a Mac. Those of you on PCs will have to figure out sort of how your layout works. I know that I have a folder set up for animation, and this is my week 2 folder, and I'm going to name this, and it's very, very important you name these as such. Okay, it's going to be your first name. Okay, so I'm going to go David, your last name, underscore, motion tween. Okay, now at the bottom where it says file format, we should choose Flash document, and that's going to add a .fla to it. I want to sort of have the extension showing, so you can hide extension or show extension. The .fla is sort of like, it's just the file format. It's like a .doc or a .docx in Microsoft Word. It's the standard file format. Okay, so I'm going to save this David Luke underscore motion tween. Each week you're going to have different sort of naming conventions. There, for the most part, will be your first name, your last name underscore motion tween. Obviously, for different exercises, they're going to be called different things. It's very important your name is on these. This is how I grade. This is how I note that you finished something. If everyone handed me something that said motion tween, I wouldn't know who was who. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Okay, now one other thing I have to sort of explain is that for the most part, unless I'm dealing with issues, unless I want to sort of see how the work is done, I am going to be looking at a different type of file. I do not want you, for the most part, unless it sort of states on the assignment sheet or exercise sheet, I want a different type of file. And this file is called a .swf, commonly referred to as a SWIF. The .fla file contains all this stuff. Okay, this might be a file you would send me if you're having trouble. You say, hey Dave, I can't quite figure out how blah 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 works. You might send me your .fla. I might email you back and say, hey, you know what, you got to look at layer 2 and there's something going on there. That's where I'm going to see that something is wrong. For the exercises and for projects, I might want a .swf. It is very simple to get a .swf. I'm going to go to Control. I'm going to test the movie in Flash Professional. And I will quickly get a file that pops up inside Flash that shows my movie. Okay, so this is just a movie that will play over and over and over again. I can see, for the most part, that this is about 5 seconds, 12 frames per second at over 60 frames. And this is what your motion tween should look like, more or less. Okay, now, where did this file then go? If I close this, okay, and quickly go to my week 2 folder, you will see the SWF file is made inside the folder that the motiontween.fla is also stored in. So when you control test movie, you should automatically create an SWF in the folder that you have that .fla file. Okay, so when you go to D2L to upload, to hand in your files for the week, do not hand me your .fla. Please hand me your .swf. Okay, that's it for Motion Tween. Again, 2 parts. You should see only 1 video for the next exercise, which has to do with shape tweens. So I'll see you there.